Welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Tom Fornelli. That's Bud Elliott. That's Danny Cannell. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3, where you can watch every Locks episode in addition to our instant reaction shows, in addition to our Upon Further reviews, and many more of our live offerings throughout the week. And the best way to know when we are going live is to hit that subscribe button, mash the bell for notifications so you find out. If you're listening to us on any of our audio formats, you can get us wherever you get your podcast. We thank you for that as well. Feel free to go and leave us a 5-star review and include a question. That's how you can get in the big old bag of mail, which we open up each and every Wednesday. We got a lot to get to. It's a little bit of a loaded week. I mean, a lot of top 25 teams in action. We've got the new college football playoff rankings release, sort of setting the stage for that. But as we always do, let's begin with a very quick review of last week. Tom, smoking 9-3, sprayed the board, and it paid off for him. The wins were Michigan State plus 4.5 against Michigan, Indiana plus 5.5, Virginia Tech plus 4.5, the over 54.5 in Oklahoma State, Kansas, Purdue, Nebraska under 52.5, Kansas State, TCU under 58.5, then Illinois, Rutgers under 42, Baylor, Texas under 61.5, Boise, Colorado State under 51.5. Took a lock fight loss to Chip with the total in Iowa, Wisconsin. A lock agreement loss with Chip in the under 43.5 in Minnesota Northwestern. And then all alone on an island, took an L with UCLA plus 6.5, but still 9-3 week. That is plus up 5.7 units, the best week of any of us in week 9, up to 50-38 on the season. Tom, any notes, thoughts on your card last week?
You know, the best thing a gambler or bettor can do is dissect both the wins and the losses and figure out why something worked or why something went wrong. But also, when you're in the zone, you just don't question things. So,
seeing the board, love it.
Seeing the board well.
All right. Chip went 5-5. My wins were the aforementioned lock fight win on the Iowa Wisconsin total. Also picked up a lock fight win over Danny, taking Notre Dame minus 3.5. The other wins were SMU plus. SMU was a loss. Also with the over 62 in that game, a 2-for-1 special. Picked up a lock agreement win with Illinois Rutgers under 42 with Tom, and a lock agreement win in Fresno State +1 with Danny. Losses were the total in Michigan State, the Ohio State team total over 37.5. The bus broke down. SMU +1 was a loss. Kansas plus 30.5. Rock chalk, my friends. So 5-5 week. And I think that as I sit here in last place among the four of us, my notes are just to continue to spray the board, because my happy place is just to throw like 10 up there and finish 6-4. I didn't quite hit 6-4, but dadgummit, that's what I can do. And if so, then maybe I could put myself in a position where I could maybe chase down Danny. However, Danny putting some distance as he goes 7-3 on the week. The wins include Wisconsin minus 3.5, Auburn minus 2.5, Houston minus 0.5 point, Oklahoma minus 18.5, Mississippi State plus 1.5. The 2-for-1 special of not only the Fresno State +1, but also the over 44.5. The losses were a lock agreement loss with Bud on Florida plus 4.5, the under 47.5 in Clemson, Florida State, which we've mentioned, the total on that one. Yeah. And then the North Carolina plus 3.5, a lock fight loss to Chip. Danny, aside from the Clemson, Florida State, or is that maybe if that's your lingering note of just beware of the worst beats in all of college football? But what'd you think about your week?
I thought it was solid. I actually thought I was on the right side of Florida too, getting 14.5, except for that little 2-minute stretch before the halftime, which actually blew up that one. And it was not only a loss for the Cover 3 locks, but I had Florida State 3 ways in my own personal account. I had them getting the 9, I had them on the money line, and I had the under, and all 3 of those out the window. The last 2, the total and the cover, were the hardest pill to swallow. But hey, that's gambling in a nutshell.
39-40 on the season. And then Bud, 1-5 on the week. Your win was Bowling Green plus 14. Picked up the lock agreement loss on Florida plus 14.5. Also the under 58.5 and Virginia +3, Louisville +7, and the Georgia State, Georgia Southern over 55.5. You are still the season leader at 52-38, with Tom just on your heels at 50-38. But 1-5 week. What does the notepad say?
So I don't know that I totally agree with Danny on the +14.5 being the right side. I understand his reasoning for that. But Florida also really wasn't moving the ball, very well. UNLV Nevada under 58.5 to me is unquestionably the right side. They had like 731 yards of offense in that game. I mean, that should net out to like 47 points. They had 3 defensive scores in that ball game. That killed my undershot. I would bet that again. I would bet that like for twice as much as I actually hit it for. Virginia +3. They were kind of bouncing back and forth until the quarterback got hurt. But clearly I should have played the team total over for my lock. Louisville hung with them for a little while and then ended up just getting their doors blown off in the fourth quarter. So wrong side there, and very wrong side on Georgia State, Georgia Southern. Post week eval, I ended up 1-5. I got lucky the week before catching 2 wins. I probably didn't deserve to go 9-1. This week, I think I probably deserved to go about 2-4. The UNLV Nevada under was the right call.
See, this is where I'm not trying to get in anybody else's business, but that was a Friday game that started at 10:30, and I have voiced my displeasure for those games. And when you are running those calculations about how many yards should equal the points, I should point out that is happening in a sane universe with games that are happening at normal times, and that other universe for 10:30 p.m. Friday night games. I mean, you could come out a winner, but just always beware of that. Let our listeners and viewers know that.
The air is thinner at night, so it's easier to move the ball.
Facts.
Science.
The first of many scientific takes here as we turn the page to week 10. Gentlemen, are you ready to lock it up?
Let's do it.
Players that We're picking locks.
My blue plate special 5-star locks are coming.
Since 2005, when Service Academy's
Look at these locks. 5-star master lock. Lock it up.
The under is 33-9-1. We've gone over it a million times.
You want these locks?
I'm living and dying every point, every cover.
All right, so as we do for all the early birds, I want to make sure that any of these picks on Thursday, Friday, and a couple of the bigger ones do end up getting touched on, or at least given the opportunity. So Georgia State and Louisiana on Thursday. Anybody got to play? Nope. All right.
I'm not locking. I'll go
Over 53.
Okay.
I'll get back on the Georgia State over train. I think Louisiana can score here. I played Louisiana 10.5. Now it's like 13. So that's out of range for me there. But over 53 for me is something I want for a lock.
My Twitter tip in that game is Louisiana -13, but I'm not in love with anything.
What, any just better team? I mean,
I don't trust Georgia State defensively to get any stops, really, is what it comes down to.
All right. Friday, Virginia Tech and Boston College, and then Utah Stanford in the Twilight Zone game as the late game on Friday. Anybody want to get in on VTBC or Utah Stanford?
I'll take something in VTBC.
All right.
I already bet this 46. 47 is the best I could do now for the over, I think,
Mm-hmm.
in VTBC. So I did bet VT in this game, and now I wish I hadn't, because there's people I trust who think that Jurkovec's coming back, and he's going to be back this week. So I already liked this over with Grosel in there, which maybe tells you I haven't adjusted my numbers enough for Grosel, but I think I have. And if Jurkovec plays, I definitely want the over. So over 47 for me. This is also something I played a little alt total over as well in case he's back. Because if he is back, I mean, this thing could be in the high 50s.
All right. Boston College 4-4 on the season. Remaining schedule is Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Florida State, Wake Forest. If Jurkovec is back, that sure seems like a let's go make a bowl game kind of move, right?
Yeah.
Those are some toss-up games in the first 3 of them. VT, Georgia Tech, Florida State. Jurkovec gives them a much better chance. That is very interesting information and something that our listeners should definitely keep in mind. Taking it to Saturday, we're going to get you started on America's Most Watched Network, the network of stars. Set your alarm. Be sure you're ready, because at 11:30 a.m., we will be getting back into the Commander-in-Chief Trophy battle. Army and Air Force in this one. And, I mean, Tom, do you want to lead us off?
Oh, are they playing this week?
Yeah, I think the people know where this is going. I mean, if you don't put this on the card, it is going to be more shocking than you taking an over in Iowa, Wisconsin.
I saw somebody in the comments earlier ask if I had the stomach to take an under 37.5, and it's like, Chip took an under 37 last week. You think I can't take the under 37.5 in a service academy game? Of course I'm locking up the under in Army Air Force. Here we go. Since 2005, in games between service academies, the under is 39, 9, and 1. I don't care what the numbers say, because my numbers tell me that there's going to be about 49 points scored in this game. But guess what? My numbers have always told me there's going to be about 47 to 58 points scored in these games between option teams. You know how many points are scored? 30, usually, at most. Sometimes you get a crazy game that goes to 55, but that's very rare. Two option teams, they run the ball 80% of the time. The clock never stops. Each team gets the ball about 5 times before the game's over after 90 minutes. And everybody goes home with a 17-14 game. So I'm taking the under 37.5. Lock it up.
Go off, King.
What?
I'm fighting it with over 37.
Bar fight.
Fight.
I make this 41.5. 38's the key number that you really want in college football. So yes, this is just a math thing, right? I applied like the tempo adjustments that I always apply. I also applied an additional 1.5 service academy for service academy adjustment, which I think if you do that kind of gets you there historically. And I still have to hit an over here. So I don't know. I could put some room between me and Tom, or Tom can catch me on this one.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me a free win.
Jeez. I mean, it's a math thing for me too. You know what the math is?
The math says 39, 9, and 1.
Yeah. Come on. Let's go. All right. I'm very happy. We're off and running here. Got ourselves a little 2-on-1 bar fight. All right, let's go to 12 o'clock Eastern time. A couple games that I wanted to highlight as headliners, the first of which Wake Forest takes its number 9 ranking from the College Football Playoff Selection Committee into Chapel Hill to take on North Carolina. North Carolina, a short favorite in this game, about 2.5. Over under 76.5. Anybody got a play on this game? Danny?
ACC boys.
Let's
you got
go.
one?
Yeah.
Let's go. Are you on your heels?
Yes.
All right, me too. I'm on the heels. I think Wake is just one of those stories where it's been nice, but they have vulnerabilities. North Carolina's been pretty battle tested. They've been in a lot of shootout games. I think they'll be more than comfortable. And I know Wake had the game with Army and they pulled away late, and that was a shootout and they put up 70. I would lean towards the over in this one too, because I don't think either team is stopping them. But I think at Chapel Hill, I think this will be one of those games where Mac Brown gets his squad motivated. I think they're ready. And Dave Clawson has done a fantastic job with the team this season so far. ACC quarterbacks might be the story that's not getting enough love, because Sam Hartman has been spectacular. But I think the run comes to an end now. I kind of hope I'm wrong, because I would love to see Wake keep moving up the undefeated ranks. But I think it comes to an end, and I think the Heels cover at home.
Yeah, it sounds just perfect for all the storylines that are going on here. It is the kind of game that Mac Brown is going to be able to have all of his motivational tactics going. It is homecoming in Chapel Hill. It is Wake Forest. The game I expect to play out a little bit like last year's 56-53. I don't think that it's going to be a game where North Carolina is going to ever feel comfortable, because I don't think North Carolina is going to get a lot of stops, but I also don't think that Wake Forest is going to be able to get a ton of stops, because I liked what I saw from North Carolina's offense against Notre Dame. It was a Notre Dame defense that, when I took the over, I was noting the loss of Kyle Hamilton and, thinking that North Carolina would be able to do its part. But here, being able to do that, I think includes being able to win the game. if you want to take the over, then again, like Danny said, I don't think it's a horrible play, but I think North Carolina wins this. I've got it under a field goal, so let's go ahead and lock it up. All right. Let's take it to Lincoln, where Scott Frost is 3-6, and his Nebraska Cornhuskers have just been experts at losing one-score games. They are just really, really good at losing close, or, as Tom mentioned on the early edge on Wednesday for Sportsline, or winning big. So Ohio State favored by 15.5, coming off that performance against Penn State, which fell short of offensive expectations and was much closer than I think anybody expected coming off the Illinois result. But, is Ohio State going to get right? Are they going to run it up? What are we expecting here? Does anyone have a play on the Buckeyes and the Cornhuskers?
Oh, go ahead.
To me, this is just Vegas hugging the publicly facing like power metrics very closely. If this is 5 or 6 years ago, maybe we catch a Nebraska, 18.5 number, and I would probably consider betting that at this point in the week. But okay, so here's a little something quick for you. I'm not going to take very long on this. If you look at some of these sort of Pythagorean win records, right, and Nebraska is routinely underplaying theirs by a ton, but their underlying metrics suggest this team should probably be 6-3, not 3-6, right? They've had crazy turnover luck going on. They've had really weird end of game scenarios. They had literally the punt. They punted to the left and the whole coverage was to the right, which creates a nice punt return lane if you can get it. This line reflects a Nebraska team that is more like 6-3 or maybe 5-4, and not a Nebraska team that's 3-6. And I think this is a really good example of how lines are closely tracking these power ratings.
Yeah, I'm not locking it up, but I would take Nebraska because, as you mentioned, Chip, Nebraska's 3 wins this year have been by an average of 39.7 points per game. The closest win they've had has been a 25-point win. Their losses have come by an average of 5.5 points. They've all been one score. None of them have been by more than 8 points. So it's I think Nebraska's going to lose, and Nebraska's losses are all by 1 score, and they're getting 2 scores. So if I'm betting it, that's what I'm doing.
That is why you lock up Nebraska, which I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take them. I think Ohio State is getting to the part of their schedule. I mean, they were dominant through that, the weaker part, and then they kind of came back to reality. And I think winning by 2 touchdowns in Nebraska might have some Ohio State fans upset. No, what's wrong with us? I think that might be a pretty good scenario for the Buckeyes where they come out and they beat a pretty good team, because I think Nebraska's record is completely deceiving. I think the players on this team are and I always look at head coaches on the hot seat and say, all right, what are the players doing? Are they still buying in, or have they thrown in the towel on the coach? And when I see them losing and competing in every single game, I think you're going to get their best effort here too. It's a home field advantage. It's, there's going to be red all over the place. Not that Ohio State's not used to it, but I think Nebraska will be able to keep this one close within the 14.5.
One trend, if you want to attack the total in this, I might go under, just because I wouldn't want to trust Nebraska's offense to be able to take you over the top against. I don't have Ohio State as necessarily a plus value or dominant defense, but it ain't it's not Fordham. It's not some of these games that they've won by 39 points and put up 40 to 50 points. I see it being a little bit more like the closer, lower scoring games that Nebraska's had against some good teams. All right, let's take it to 3:30 p.m. Eastern time for the SEC on CBS Game of the Week. It is Auburn and Texas A&M. This one, of course, you can see on CBS. You can stream it for free on the CBS Sports app or on cbssports.com. Do we see, and this is, very much a kind of throw your hands in the air kind of line to me in terms of Texas A&M, the home team favored by 4.5, over under sitting squarely on that key number of 49. Does anybody have some strong intuitions here and want to play a lock on this battle between 2 top 15 SEC West teams?
I very much do.
Let's go.
I'm taking the under 49.5.
Oh, you've got a half out there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of halves.
Mm-hmm. I don't trust either of these offenses. I know that Zach Calzada played really well and Texas A&M played really well offensively in that Alabama game. Full credit to him for that. but the last 2 weeks against South Carolina and Missouri, they've been awesome, but South Carolina and Missouri are not good defensive teams. Bo Nix has been amazing the last 2 weeks, but it was against, as we've talked about, Arkansas and Ole Miss, two bad defensive teams. And now, like, the Auburn offensive line has been a problem for it all season long, which is why they have to rely on Nix more than I think that they ideally would want to. I think they would love to just be able to let Tank Bigsby be the offense because he's good, but they don't have the line to do it. And they certainly don't have the line to do it against this Texas A&M defensive front. So I think that this is going to be – I like the Aggies to win, and I think that Auburn's path to victory here involves kind of a higher scoring shootout. They need things to get a little sloppy and a little weird. And I just don't see that happening very often. I see this as being Texas A&M 27, Auburn 20. So I'm going under 49.5.
Man, Tom, sorry, go ahead, Danny.
Lock it up.
Yeah.
Let's go. We got all you too. Whoa!
All right. That's 3. Buddy, you getting in on this?
What I hope happens, although this would not be good for the show, is that everybody jumps on this and they steam this under, and then I'm going to bet the over 48 if it gets there. That's my buy point on the over. I still am a little bit curious about pace here for A&M. They were early in the year; they were playing much faster than Jimbo normally likes to play. Then the quarterback gets hurt. They went back to playing really slow with Calzada in the first couple games, but then they didn't play nearly as slow in the last couple. So I'm kind of figuring, like, okay, is A&M back? Did they have some intentionality to how fast they played that spring game? If we can jump back to April here for a second, did they have some intentionality to how they played early in the year? My pace adjustment is probably what is driving me to potentially hit an over here, but I'm not going to hit it. I took a little bit of 4 flat on Sunday, but I'm not going to play 4.5. So pass.
So just for our record keeping purpose,
no locks there. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Tom has gotten us started. Danny is on board. Chip brings in the Latifa because, like, heck yeah. Why do we think that these two quarterbacks have just all of a sudden had this tremendous growth? I think we discussed it on Wednesday's show. Like, this is me doubling down on, I was singing Zach Calzada's praises, and then I reviewed all of the statistics, did my research, and realized that I should not be taking the South Carolina Missouri success as something that I should play forward against an Auburn defense that I respect, especially on the back end pass defense side. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Danny, same thoughts?
Absolutely. I think Texas A&M's defense quietly is 4th in the country in scoring defense, only giving up 16 points over a game. We've talked a lot about Clemson's greatness, Cincinnati's greatness, and of course Georgia's greatness. And then there's Texas A&M coming right behind them. So I think I don't trust either one of these quarterbacks to continue their torrid pace. Like, they've been great. I trust Bo Nix a little bit more, but not really against this defense on the road with that trend we've seen of Bo Nix. I know he got off the schneid. What was it, Arkansas, that he went on the road? I think that game was there. So yeah, he's kind of helped that somewhat, but I'm going to go ahead and take that under.
Let's
4-1 on the year. Good stuff. Good stuff.
For Unities, nice.
For the Unities, yep.
Let's look at number 11, Oklahoma State, going to take on West Virginia. It's going to be a tough environment, and the Cowboys are narrow 3.5-point favorites. Another over/under, thunk, right on 49. Maybe you've got some 49.5s if you want to shop around. Anybody got a play on what I think is the biggest game in the Big 12 this week?
I might have a play for later in the show.
I'll go ahead and get one out of the way now. I think I'm leaning the same side as Tom. I'm going to go ahead and take the Mountaineers, baby. Give me this. Is there any team that you really, really trust, including Oklahoma, in the Big 12 to travel as a favorite on the road and pull off this win by more than 3.5 points? Like, I think this would be close. West Virginia, Neil Brown's been a story of the season. Jarrett Dagy's been really solid, coming off one of his best weeks of the season when he was 30 of 46 for 370 as they took down Iowa State. Like, I trust the West Virginia offense more than I trust Oklahoma State's offense at this point. I would lean to the under in this one, but I'm going to go ahead and lock up the Mountaineers getting 3.5 here in this spot.
I really like that pick. I don't want to coattails it, but I give you a full-throated endorsement there, and I lean on the under too. The the West Virginia team, if you want to bite on it, sure seems like they're playing with more confidence, because there was a point a couple games ago where you felt like after losing 3 in a row, I think I mentioned this yesterday too, like TCU ran the opening kickoff back 100 yards. I mean, you kind of put West Virginia on that. Are they about to just sort of bail on this? Is the bottom about to fall out? Are the Mountaineers going to free fall? I think to respond in that game, TCU, we look at a different light, but still, I think that the way that West Virginia bounced back, then you followed that up with the win against Iowa State. That was a home win. This is going to be a second straight ranked foe coming into town. Momentum isn't real, but confidence is, and I think there's a lot more confidence around that building right now. So I definitely support that as well. Let's take it on to the night slate. Alabama is a 28.5-point favorite against LSU. Over under somewhere around 66.5 or so. Anybody got a play on this great SEC West rivalry? Lay it.
I'm considering.
Lay those points. I mean, the scoreboard since Ed Orgeron said "Roll Tide blank you" is 55-17. I kind of think that we're going to see something similar. There is zero reason for Nick Saban to call the dogs off in this game, because everything is based on eyeing the end of the season against Auburn and the SEC championship game against Georgia. Everything is focused on perfection and playing to that championship and Alabama standard. I think that because of LSU's personnel situation, particularly in the secondary, even the backups are going to come in and be able to continue to execute at a high level and continue to score touchdowns against this LSU defense. In fact, you could argue that based on the injuries, the depth, again, the personnel situation of LSU, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, that when Alabama puts its backups in, that's about the quality that LSU is starting the game with. So I feel comfortable saying that this is a 30-point win. Lay it. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Just don't want to lay 28 points.
Roll Tide. I think
yeah.
you're on the right side. That's a big number.
I do too. I just don't want to.
All right.
I'm trying to pay as little attention to that game as possible, because I doubt it's going to be worthy of our attention.
I mean, there's still a 17 out there for first half, which I thought about too. Still a couple, actually.
I would take first half anything up to 24. This thing is 28-0. He's gonna give him the Ole Miss Lane Kiffin popcorn special. All right, let's go. Let's wrap this up for sort of the big headliner games before we hit the break and go open gym. Oregon at Washington. Some sweet university president smack talk, I guess, highlights this game. But on the field, I think that you got to look at it as one of the bigger tests, especially in Husky Stadium, in that environment. One of the bigger tests for Oregon that it's going to face in conference play. There's a Utah date that's coming up that's on my radar. And then, of course, the Pac-12 championship game. If the Ducks, now ranked number 4, are going to continue, does anyone have a play for Oregon-Washington?
I do, if no one else is going to. I get a full touchdown, right, for the Huskies?
Yeah.
I'll take it. I think this Oregon team is suspect. I hope they win. I would love to see them win. I don't trust them to go on the road in Seattle, which is one of the loudest places to play. I think Jimmy Lake is one of the better defensive coaches. I would probably lean toward the under on this one, 51.5. But I think the funny thing about this week is there was so much reaction to the rankings, and my biggest reaction is always let the dust settle. Like, if anybody's upset, there were a lot of people like, oh, I can't believe Oregon's ahead of Ohio State at this spot, and they're all the way up at 4. I think maybe they drop, but I don't trust them to go on the road and win more by a touchdown. I would say it's going to be a lower scoring game. I would lean towards the under, but go ahead and give me Washington here in this spot. I just don't trust Oregon to win big on the road in this spot.
Can I just say Washington is one of the teams that I just will not be playing in locks, because they just play games with the injury stuff. And think about that Arizona game, right? All of a sudden they come out and they have 3 additional starters who didn't really hear about all week. Not be like that stuff matters. And they're one of those teams where I have a column in TweetDeck with beat writers from each conference, and I just want to look before the game. I'm not going to be locking those guys up anymore just because I can't trust that who they say is going to play is going to play.
Their record is also they're 4-4, but they've been competitive in every game. Their loss to Oregon State doesn't look as bad. I mean, there's no excuse for the opener against Montana, and then once they got past the Michigan loss, they've been kind of figuring some things out. They've got back-to-back wins. I just think they're coming with a little bit of confidence in this game.
I'll just say, first of all, kudos to the Pac-12 for not scheduling this game at 10:30 on a Friday night. I know it was hard for you not to do that, and you really wanted to, but darn it.
Was this their choice? This is ABC Prime. This might have been ABC and ESPN's helping them out by giving them one in prime time.
No, they were playing.
Larry's got that much credit as he's gone. I don't think he had that much foresight.
But I also just want to say, just for the narrative purposes and for covering the sport, nothing to do with the playoff or what I want to happen or think will happen. I hope Washington wins just because whether I agree with what Jimmy Lake was saying earlier this week, I want coaches doing that more often. I want coaches out here talking crap about their rivals more often. And I want coaches to feel more able to say what they think or what they feel. And if he says that this week and Washington loses, he's just going to hear it. He's going to hear about it nonstop, and he'll probably never do anything like that again. So for that alone, I hope the Huskies win, or at least get screwed out of a win.
Washington wins this game by turning it into a grind, right, Danny? Yeah,
absolutely. And I think Oregon kind of plays into that grind because you don't want Anthony Brown out there throwing it all over the yard, I think this would be a lower scoring game that'll be tight in the fourth quarter within that touchdown.
I don't hate that. And like you mentioned too, I would probably lean towards the under as well. Coming up on the other side, we open up the entire board and lay out the rest of our Week 10 locks. Next.
The world's #1 pound-for-pound fighter, Canelo Alvarez. He's planning to make boxing history.
Canelo, rock him the head.
But undefeated champ Caleb Plant stands in his way. Ready to shock the world in a battle that's become personal. Only one can be undisputed champion. Canelo Alvarez versus Caleb Plant, Saturday, November 6th, live on pay-per-view.
They threw fisticuffs at the press conference. Canelo Plant. Check it out on Showtime pay-per-view. What a treat for our YouTube watchers who are tuning in either live or on the replay. But you, of course, check it out even if you're listening on the audio form. Okay, Tom, you had a stellar week. The honors on the tee box are all yours. Where would you like to go to get us started as we continue now with the whole board available for Week 10?
I'd like to start here because there's a chance that the one could continue moving the other direction. So I'm taking Tennessee +1 at Kentucky. We've talked about it a little bit on the show. Offensively, Kentucky was really good at the start of the year because nobody knew what offense it was running. Nobody knew what to expect. Nobody knew what they would be doing. Then they saw it, and ever since then, Kentucky's offense has kind of gone, the wrong way. Their first few games of the season, they had a success rate of 54.4% and were averaging 3.2 points per possession. In their last 6 games, that's dropped to 51.2%, and they're averaging 1.84 points per possession. And this is a Tennessee offense where week to week, it's kind of fluctuated, which is kind of the way that the offense works, the one that they run. There's some weeks where it looks great, depending on who they're facing, and some weeks when it doesn't. And this is a good Kentucky defense. But it's a Kentucky defense that has been much better against the run than it has been the pass. And I think that could be a problem because even though Tennessee runs the ball often and far more often than it passes, when it does throw the ball, it's been very efficient and very effective. And I think that's an area where the Volunteers can have some success against Kentucky in this game. So I've got Tennessee winning by about 2 points. So if I'm getting them 1 point, I'm going to take it. So lock up the Vols +1.
Did you see what they opened this?
It was something ridiculous.
4.5.
Yeah.
I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a theme here. I got a couple picks on the board where I think that your best football is still representative in your profile and your resume, and congratulations, and it helps you out in your statistics, but I don't think it's coming on Saturday, and I think Kentucky is one of those teams, and I see Tennessee being able to win that game. So I'm also on Tennessee.
Where's Latifah? Come on. Come on.
We gotta let them know. UNIT riders. Come on, here we go. UNIT.
This is a matchup that if you lost at one time at Tennessee, it would get you fired, right? Like, this is a rivalry game. Like, your perception of yourself is we have to beat Kentucky every single year. I know it sounds crazy to say this, but I feel like Tennessee, even though back-to-back losses coming into this game, I feel like there's more momentum with them. I think there's more to this team. I think like the potential for this team, what they could have been if they had Hendon Hooker starting from week 1, as opposed to the Joe Milton experience, which didn't last very long, is really kind of compelling when you think about it. But Will Levis has been a turnover machine, including last week with the 3 interceptions. I don't trust him. I think Tennessee will be able to put up some points. I don't trust Kentucky to match those. So give me the Vols.
Play that Bud Lightyear.
Oh my gosh. Please be the right button.
The world is about to feel something that they never felt before.
To infinity and beyond.
Let y'all know.
So I believe we had 2 Lock Infinities on our win totals podcast, and we have not had 1 Lock Infinity since then. This is the first single game Lock Infinity for the 2021 season.
I
Did it.
I was texting with this guy. He runs a pro group, and I was telling him what I already hit because he doesn't watch the Sunday show. And he called me a jerk. We'll use a nicer term for hitting that. And he's like, now I got to go hit it because every other group in the world is going to hit this. And they all did. And Will Levis and Kentucky's offense last week, and there's no guarantee that it'll be this week, but last week, with about 10 minutes left in the game, they were at negative 3.5 yards per attempt adjusted, which means that if you had taken a knee, although not a knee in the shotgun, right, because that could be a longer loss, but if you had just taken a freaking knee, Kentucky, instead of throwing the ball last week, you would have been in better position each time. Now, variance, obviously, you don't want to do that. That's not also, it's embarrassing, but not quite as embarrassing as Kentucky's passing game has been in the SEC. It's not fixed, and there's not a whole lot of lines this week that just make me go WTF. This was one of them. I think Tennessee should be a favorite.
Let's go. Yeah, I'm juices are flowing now. All right. Boards open. Let's see. Why don't we go, Tom? You got 3 on the board. You want to drop another one?
All right, sure. I will go to a game that I can't believe you didn't include in the games of the week, Chip. Michigan State going on the road to face the giant killers, Purdue. And I'm taking the under. I've got a lot of unders this week. Spoiler alert. It's just that time of year, but it's, Michigan State is number 3, deserves to be there. Got that huge win over Michigan. It's played very well this year, but it's a home run hitting team. There's a lot of variance in what it does. And we saw it last week with Michigan State against Michigan, where Kenneth Walker had 5 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker was phenomenal. Kenneth Walker has been doing that all year long, where it kind of reminds me, and I'm not comparing the two as players. I'm just saying style-wise, Kenneth Walker's season reminds me of what Barry Sanders used to be back when he played for the Lions, where you'd watch a game and Barry Sanders would get like 1 yard, 2 yard, lose 4 yards, 2 yards, and he would have these nothing runs, and then bam, 65-yard touchdown run in which he breaks 35 tackles, spin moves 17 times, leaps over 5 guys, and scores. And that's kind of what Kenneth Walker and what this Michigan State offense has been for its entire season. There's a lot of explosive plays, but there's not a lot of consistency from down to down, and I think that at times at some point that's going to hurt them. I don't know if it's going to hurt them this weekend at Purdue, but I do think they're facing a Purdue defense that has far exceeded my expectations for the season. They're ranked 10th nationally in defensive success rate. They're 12th in points per possession allowed. They've got a good pass rush led by George Karlaftis, but they've got other guys who are helping out in that area this year that they didn't have the last couple of years, which really hurt them. I think this is a very solid Purdue team that, we obviously know about the win it had earlier this season. But we still don't realize this is probably like the 2nd or 3rd best team in the Big Ten West right now. And there's a reason the spread is as small as it is. But the problem is Michigan State's bad in the red zone on offense, and so is Purdue. So neither of these teams, I trust them to finish drives when the field gets small. And that usually leads to unders to me. So I'm taking the under 54 in Purdue, Michigan State.
What is the most common final score in college football? It's 55 points.
Mm-hmm.
That's my buy point on this. right? Like if it's 55, I'm right there with you. I played 2.5 earlier. Now that's gone, so I can't get that out as a lock. My only thought on this is Purdue was extremely lucky to win last week. I mean, that's one of the lowest post-game win expectancies of the year for a winning team. I think they were, what are they, 7% or 6%?
But that's how you beat Nebraska.
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, it's really important that Nebraska, when it tries an onside kick, doesn't have but one offensive player on the hands team. I mean, that's the way that you do it.
You have to make as many mistakes as possible to beat Nebraska. That's just how it works.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. I think Tom's right side here. There's a reason they're not giving you a 55.
So what is the AP ranking for Michigan State?
I don't know.
If Chip don't know, we don't know, because I don't think the rest
those.
of us pay attention to it.
I love how fast we forget.
Okay, because I think the lucky thing for Michigan State is that Purdue is that Michigan State is ranked number 3 and not in the top 2, because Purdue has 13 wins over teams ranked number 1 or number 2, but Michigan State's 3. So I can't jump on board with the Purdue upset special, at least not at this portion of the proceedings.
Michigan State's not indie enough to be number 2 in the AP poll, Chip. It is number 5.
Okay, that's right. Bud, why don't you give us one?
All right. Actually, vacuum's going on in the background. Go to DK real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Can't hear it. It's all good. All right, I got to play.
Yeah.
Missouri is playing against the Dogs.
Georgia.
Yep. It's a big number, massive number for a conference opponent, right? 38.5, 39. I'm staying away from that. The total, so I'm trying to find my numbers here. What is it? 50, 60. I can get 60?
Let me check.
39 is stupid.
I can get
right?
you 60 if you want the under.
I want the under. I'm going to take the under here. The only thing that kind of scares me is maybe Georgia, but they have no reason to run it up. I don't think Missouri is going to put up points. They're starting to play for something too, and I've been parts of teams when I was at Florida State where the defense starts realizing they can accomplish something special, and you start putting up statistics that are historically great, and then the defense goes out there and they're like, hey, let's pitch a shutout. Like that becomes the goal. Let's hold them to 0, or then it's just a field goal. And even if you give up that field goal, then it's, hey, we can't give up any more points. And even when the backups are in there, they still start thriving off that and feeding off it. I think that's what you're going to see. I think Georgia dominates. I would lean towards laying the points, but I don't think Georgia's going to score close to 60 in this matchup. So I think you could see 49-3, somewhere in there, maybe a 42-10 possibly. But I think this will be a dominant performance from Georgia. But I don't think Georgia is going to put up that many points, unless one thing that makes me a little bit nervous, maybe they want J.D. Daniels to get some work. But even then, I just don't think they're going to cover this number. So I'll take the under in this one. Give me the under 60, Mizzou versus Georgia.
I will forever be terrified of taking an under in a game that involves the Mizzou defense.
Fair. But I like where your head's at there. Let's take it to, it's not a true rivalry game. In fact, I definitely ended up on the underside of this, on the wrong side of this earlier in the season, but let's go to Tallahassee, because the Wolfpack are there still a 2.5 out there? We're still sitting around 2.5, or is this thing at 3? This thing's moving in the other direction. 2.5. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and lock this in under a field goal. I am very, very impressed with the way that NC State has just continued to respond. You lose Peyton Wilson, and here comes Isaiah Moore, and Isaiah Moore goes down, and it guts the coaching staff and the team. And then Drake Thomas comes in and has like 15 tackles in that game against Louisville. Upon further review, we came back and talked about NC State's effort late in that game. Bud mentioned how Devin Leary's done a great job of taking care of the ball, and really that NC State offense, since the clunker against Mississippi State early in the season, has a lot of different ways that it's going to be able to beat you. I think that NC State is going to be able to get in and out of Tallahassee with the win. We have seen this Wolfpack team just continue to have answers, and I don't want to doubt them, even against a Florida State team that has been playing some better football as of late. So give me Dave Doran and the Wolfpack under a field goal against the Noles.
Lock agreement. Way too much Mackenzie Milton in practice reports this week. And then you get Chubba Purdy transferring out. So let's read between the lines here for a second. What would cause you to transfer out mid-season? Maybe you've always been wanting to do it, but you got some playing time against UMass, right? So, and you got some playing time over Mackenzie Milton. If for some reason Jordan Travis doesn't start and they're having to prep Mackenzie Milton to be the starter, that would be a pretty clear signal to you that you got passed over. Maybe that's why you announced you hit the transfer portal on a random Tuesday. I'm not saying, I'm just saying that's a possibility. And with that possibility being out there, I really like anything under a field goal.
I'm trying to be disciplined. I want to get in there and emotionally just say I want to fight both you guys.
Do
but
it.
I'm going to just sit on my hands right here, and I'm not going to say anything. I'm irritated with both you guys.
This is not a play for me on Sunday, by the way. This is the play that happened yesterday.
Right.
You catch my drift.
Yeah. I would. Do you think I guess if I don't know if Mackenzie's playing, would you lean the under then too? I was kind of thinking the over in this one because I think
the non-COVID flu is really going around Tallahassee right now. If you look on like just any like non-sports page too, all the memes are like, "Hey, went to Halloween and now I've got the flu." Like not COVID, but like you got people from other sports having to go get IVs. Like it's going through the athletic department right now, pretty seriously. I don't know that it means they're going to miss the game, but certainly a lot of sports have had people miss practice this week in Tallahassee for flu-like symptoms.
Hey, man, I'm glad that they got to have a good Halloween. You know,
Halloween in Tallahassee is not something you want to miss. Like you'll take a week of flu for that.
This pisses me off too because I think they still have a chance to get to 6-6, and I think this is one of those key games where they kind of have to get this one if they want to. So I hope this isn't what unfolds. But again, I'm sitting on my hands. I'm just sitting here refusing to get suckered in.
I think that NC State wins this game because it's also with the focus of going into next week against Wake Forest because your ACC championship hopes are still on the line. Wake Forest will be undefeated in conference play, even after losing to North Carolina, because don't forget, the most hilarious part of this all is that UNC and Wake Forest is a non-conference game, and they will still be undefeated in conference play, regardless of the result against North Carolina.
Can I just give some, and I mentioned it before, the ACC quarterbacks are crushing it. Devin Leary, 21 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the year. That is exceptional play. Florida State, I can't get on board with that one, but man, there's been some great quarterbacks playing this year for the ACC.
Danny, you got that Florida State helmet back there, and you're just going to let these two.
I know. Well, I didn't have a play in the LSU game either, so it was more like,
aesthetics.
Yeah.
We're just going for gold in the background.
Yeah.
All right. So right now, actually, I'll go ahead and call this up for everybody who is watching along. The Lock Infinity Buzz Lightyear clips getting us going. Tennessee +1, the first Lock Infinity of the single game locks. We've got a bar fight in the Army Air Force total. The under for Tom and Chip at 37.5. The over 37 for Bud. We've got Queen Latifah Lock Infinity. Lock Unity. For Texas A&M Auburn, under 49.5. The rest of the card for Tom includes the under 54 in Michigan State Purdue. The rest of the card for Chip includes NC State -2.5. That's lock agreement with Bud. And UNC -2.5. That's lock agreement with Danny. Alabama -28.5. Danny's also got Nebraska +15. West Virginia +3.5, Washington +7, the under 60 in Missouri, Georgia. Bud also has the Georgia State over 53 and the over 47 in Virginia Tech, Boston College. Okay. Tom, how many more do you have?
I have at least 4, maybe 5.
Come on. Let's go.
All right. I'll start with another under because, again, I've got a lot of unders this week. I'm taking the under in Baylor TCU under 58.5. Obviously, TCU's in a bad spot right now. Gary Patterson was let go this week, mutually agreed to part ways, however you want to phrase it. Jerry Kill is taking over as the interim coach, and I've seen a lot of Jerry Kill teams. Jerry Kill at Northern Illinois. I've seen Jerry Kill at Minnesota. TCU is going to be running the ball a lot this week. They are going to be playing that possession-based, slower approach to try to stay against a Baylor team that defensively is still sound, just like it was last year when it went 2-7, but offensively has taken leaps and bounds this season to be one of the better, more entertaining offenses in the country to watch. But also there's the fact that Dave Aranda is I don't know, acolyte's probably too strong a word, but he's a big fan of Gary Patterson and Gary Patterson's defenses. He's studied them. He's used them. He respects Patterson a lot. And I don't think I think this is a game where Baylor's going to have the chance, or it's going to have control of the game, because I think they're a better football team than TCU right now. And I don't think they're going to run it up. I think it's going to be respectful. I think it's going to be, let's get out of here. Let's take the win. Let's go home. Let's stay where we are in the rankings and move on. So I had it under with my numbers as it is, but when I look at all the other stuff going on around these teams right now, I just think it's even smarter.
Total respect. The Dave Aranda quotes about, I mean, among the many Big 12 coaches who've come out offering their displeasure with how things ended with TCU and Gary Patterson, was a big time reminder for me. I think that's probably a smart play.
Can I get can I still get 58.5 on this?
You want over?
No, the under.
Yeah,
okay.
No, it's 58.5.
That's right. Okay, that's it. Yeah. Agreement.
All right. Hey, does the dentist have an Ole Miss-Liberty play?
He does. And I actually not even read it yet. He was coaching his son's flag football team, so he forgot to text me last night, and I hit him this morning. I was like, "Hey, is dentist open today?" Yeah. So this game has the potential to be an absolute disaster for Ole Miss. Sandwiched it between Auburn and A&M against a team that is highly motivated to play well. Hugh Freeze has probably had this game circled for years, but Ole Miss players' perspective, it's hard to get super excited about playing Liberty. Now, adding all the injuries Ole Miss has had on offense, and which I could interject here, I think Kiffin said they only had 3 of their 11 guys practicing who started the year for him, so that's potentially problematic, and maybe why the line has dropped by 4 points. All right, back to the dentist now. Adding all the injuries, and all of a sudden, this game is not considered the cupcake it once was considered. Looking at Liberty's schedule, they have struggled to score when playing a decent team. They have been in one game that went over this total, and that was against UMass. I expect Ole Miss to try to have to establish the run game for 2 obvious reasons. 1, they've had a tough time rushing versus Auburn and want to get back on track. 2, all of their receivers are injured and their tight end is also hurt. Ole Miss just needs to get a win here and avoid a disastrous loss. I'm going to be with under 67.5. I expect it to be a pretty sweaty under. Can't believe I'm taking the under in a Kiffin Freeze game.
Well,
this is a good example of a principle that you need to be willing to bet over or under with any team out there at a certain price point.
I've got, when you said the line has moved 4 points, or was he talking about the total has moved?
No, the total.
Okay. So I can still get 9.5, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Liberty. For sure. Ole Miss, like Kentucky, was a much better football team, not on Saturday. And the football team that's going to be out there on Saturday, this one a little bit more, injuries, not as much slowdown in performance. I just think that this is going to be an opportunity for Liberty to try and throw some haymakers. Anything over a touchdown, I think I was going to be excited to take Malik Willis against this Ole Miss defense. So yeah, give me, like, I'm taking this more for the quarterback and more for what I think that Liberty with Willis and also the ground game in general will be able to do against Ole Miss in the run game, probably more so than necessarily a Hugh Freeze revenge game factor, though Hugh Freeze, whatever motivation he might have, only adds into that. But even just looking at these two teams and where they're at in their season and the motivation for the game, sandwich spot, as the dentist mentioned, give me Liberty plus 9.5. All right. What? Can we just keep going? I only got like 1 or 2 left.
I've got 4.
Got mine too.
I got a couple left too.
All right,
Go ahead.
Okay. Listen, there is, we had to like blow dust off of the Lock Infinity button because there's another button that we've been waiting on. It was a button that we missed earlier in the season. We missed an opportunity. And I need to ask Tom Fornelli, what is the weather report for War Memorial Stadium?
Oh, Chip, it is going to be windy in Laramie. As of right now, temperatures are in the low 50s, but winds, more importantly to our interests, because I know where you're going and you know where I'll be following you, will be between 15 and 18 miles per hour, blowing through War Memorial Stadium, knocking balls down, taking 2 bad offenses and making them even worse than they already are.
It's gonna be windy in Laramie. You could even like pause and enjoy this under, which by the way is at 40 and a half,
41. I can get it.
just based on the teams. I didn't even I was hoping for the weather report just so that we could bring it up and just so that I could wear my Wonders hoodie, shout out to Robbie Callan and the Puntcast. I was thrilled to find out that not only do we have Colorado State, a fantastic under team, Wyoming, an elite under team, but we've got 15 to 18 mile per hour winds, and the sun will be shining because the sun powers the wind. I mean, this is one of my favorite plays of the season. Let's go. Colorado State, Wyoming under. I mean,
Yeah.
You did say lock agreement, right?
I'm not going to fight it. There's no way. I took over 39.5 on Sunday.
Come on.
I'm not fighting with over 40.
Fight the wind. You're not fighting us.
No.
You're fighting Mother
I'm not going to
Nature.
fight the wind.
Yeah, that's a good decision. All right.
Yeah.
Fighting the wind. You don't want the winds to have vengeance for you, bud. You need the wind behind you.
Fighting the wind is definitely like I had the right side to still lose for sure.
Let it be a tailwind, not a headwind. All right.
What is that, like framed in your office?
I think some CEO wrote a book and he gives it out for free if you show up to interview for the job with him. All right, Danny, you said you got a couple. Let's hear it.
All right, I need a pole assassin play. Gotta play. I just have to play one of these ones. So Texas traveling to Ames to take on Iowa State. I don't love laying the 6.5, but I don't love Texas either. What I do love is the total. I'm going to go over the 60. I think this will be more of a traditional Big 12 kind of two teams that get in there, that what's left to play, how much effort is left for both of these teams. I liked what I've seen from Texas offensively. I think they're going to put up some points with John. So give me the over in my assassin play of the week for Texas, Iowa State over 60. Is that the best number I can get?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have we ever found out what the monkey's name is?
Yes. Pate found it out.
It is a she.
She has
I did see that
Instagram page. Yeah.
And it is a female monkey, right? I did when I was breaking down the video of whether it was intrusion or not. You can't even make this stuff up.
Where did you come down on the side of our balloons as an appropriate security measure we tried to deter a child?
Yes. There was a gate there though too. Legally, who's at fault? But
it depends on the state, right? And it depends on like when that signage was actually placed there or not. However, it sounds like they will fight in court, which is exactly what Danny and I will be doing on this game because I am taking the under 61.
Fight.
All right. Here's my deal on this one. We already know that Texas is missing Jordan Whittington, right? Who's been out for a while, their receiver. Do you know who the number 2 receiver is on Texas this year? Because number 1's obviously Xavier Worthy, and he's really, really good. Although not quite as good in recent weeks when Whittington's been out.
I believe it's the guy who ran away from practice after
loss. Right.
He's like,
yeah, exactly. So if I'm Iowa State, I'm going to sit in a little soft zone. I'm going to say, okay, Texas, you got a true freshman receiver who's really fast. So my number 1 priority today is going to be not letting the super fast 18-year-old beat me deep. And I'll just play conservative zone here, let the clock tick, and we'll see how accurate Casey Thompson could be to a bunch of backup receivers underneath. So under 61 for me there. We can't middle at 60 and 61, but we could side each other potentially.
This game is in Ames.
Yeah.
Right? Is Iowa State, are they going to be dialed in enough to really bring the heat when it comes to the taunting and bringing this joke to the forefront as a as a student section?
They better be.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There will be lots of kids dressed up as monkeys for this game.
I didn't want to doubt that Iowa State would bring it, but I also am just not close enough to that university fan base and the students to know if they've got that deep level of execution.
Also, if you are going to this game and you are dressing up as a monkey, make sure you hold up a Cover 3 podcast sign to let us know you were listening.
And if you want to advertise on the Cover 3 podcast, hit show ads at 247sports.com. That's show ads at 247sports.com. We're hitting millions of people. Let's get millions of ad dollars in there. Make this thing a road show.
Coca said in the chat, R.I.P. Harambe. That is a throwback.
There is nothing Twitter loves more than children being attacked by primates. I tweeted it earlier this week. Harambe, this monkey in Austin. It's just like you see that happen and everybody goes nuts and just wants to talk about it.
Oh, her name is Gia, by the way.
Gia. Oh, well, is there any proof that this was Gia who bit the kid? It could have been any monkey.
That's what Skipper's for.
Danny, why don't you keep it going? You said
all right, I'll
you
throw out
said
some others. I got a sicko mode play. Everybody, Cincinnati ticked off, right? They fell from 2 to 6. Game day is going to be there. The nip is going to be rocking. Everyone and their brother thinks Cincinnati is pissed off in this game and is just going to blow them out like style points galore. Well, guess what? I thought we were going to get that against Navy. Guess what we did not get? Wait, what the heck? Sorry, this is my daughter's phone. I don't know why her phone's going on. Sorry about that. Everyone thought we were going to get that against Navy. Then it was Tulane. Oh, style points. They need style points. Thought they were going to blow them out. Guess what it is now? Tulsa coming to town. Oh, they're going to blow them out. This is a Tulsa team that would put up 20 against Ohio State's defense earlier in the year. I don't know if Cincinnati may not be built to just blow teams out. So I'm going to take Tulsa getting 22.5. Is that, can I get 23?
I get you 23.5.
Oh, even better. Give me Tulsa 23.5 against Cincinnati. And then I got one more sicko mode play. Do we trust Wisconsin to blow out anybody by 12.5 points? You do, Tom? Are we fighting on this, Tom?
No,
I think we might be fighting because I'm going to go to the birthplace of college football and go ahead and take Rutgers, the Scarlet Knights. 12.5 point dog.
I get you 13.
Oh, even better. Give me the Scarlet Knights. Greg Schiano. This is a Greg Schiano special. Like, get his team fired up for the big bad Wisconsin Badgers coming to town. Give me Rutgers and the 13 in this one. I got one more play for you. It's a lower one. Navy against Notre Dame. The total's 46.5. By the way, Notre Dame just gave up 224 yards rushing to North Carolina this past weekend. I think Navy's going to put up some points, but I don't think they're going to slow down Kyron Williams and Jack Cohn and company for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So give me the over 46.5 in Navy Notre Dame.
Best I can get you is 47.5 because everybody else is on your side.
Go ahead. No discipline here. Just go ahead. I like 40. My system said the number was 46.5, but I'm going to go ahead and just rock with it and take the over.
Danny's numbers.
Yeah. My system.
I'm going to take us to the Sun Bowl. One of the biggest games of the week. UTSA, our Roadrunners, going to play our beloved Miners from UTEP, picks up. And I'm seeing a double-digit dog in a rivalry game. Are you kidding me? In a game of this magnitude? And I know that we just saw UTEP take an L, but it was because it was a look ahead. They just want to throw you off the scent. They just want to give us the opportunity to pick up our axes, our little picks, and go and take some swings at the Roadrunners. So if I've got plus 11 in a game that I do think is going to be very, very fun and come down to the fourth quarter, that I love that wiggle room there. UTSA probably wins, but I think UTSA wins by a touchdown. So let's go Miners. Picks up.
Can't do it. Can't pick sides in this one. It's like, Danny, you've got 3 daughters. It's like if 2 of them are fighting, you can't pick one to win. You're not rooting for one. You're just trying to break it up. I just hope everybody has fun. Nobody gets hurt. Everybody's happy at the end of the day.
And we only have but so many years of Cayusa left that we're really going to be excited about. And this is one of them, maybe one of the best Conference USA football games that we'll have here in the late stages of the league as we know it right now. So, yeah, give me the Miners plus 11. And now I'm good till Moneyline Sprinkles.
All right, I've got 3 left. I'm going to take another under. It's my last under, I swear. The under 59.5 in Tulane UCF. Michael Pratt got a concussion last week, was knocked out of the game. We don't know his status going into this week, but Tulane's offense has been struggling all year long without Pratt. I really have very little faith in it. And on the same side, while UCF is getting better in the weeks since losing Dylan Gabriel, I'm still not ready to. I don't like the spread nearly as much as I like the under there. So I'm going to take the under 59.5. And then a couple of my Sunbelt sicko plays. I am taking this is a simple case, Chip, of what has this team done to deserve to be favored over anybody. So I'm taking ULM plus 3.5 at Texas State, because Texas State is not a better football team than ULM. They're both bad football teams. Whether you like the record wise, ULM is 4-4, but it is not nearly as good as its record suggests. It has a point differential of negative 122 on the season with those 4 wins. And Texas State just isn't good against anybody, and it doesn't know how to win. So I'm taking the Warhawks to cover. And finally, I am taking South Alabama plus 4, I think is the best where I could still get it now, against Troy. I think South Alabama is better than Troy. I think this is the wrong team being favored. And I know this is kind of a local rivalry, big game, but just I think the wrong team is favored. So give me the Jaguars.
Is Chip Long out at Troy?
I mean,
he
should be based on coach last week.
We're trending that way. I think not just for punting decisions or fourth down decisions, but a job that people think might come open. Is that accurate? Are y'all seeing it the same way?
I think it's possible.
Yeah,
but I don't have specific insight there.
I can't say I'm paying super close attention to the situation, but I could see that happening. Yeah.
No, I was actually tipped off because somebody in the very reliable sources that are the Cover 3 podcast live chat on youtube.com/cover3, like 3 weeks ago, somebody was like, Chip Long's done. And everything I've seen suggests that premonition, if it was not a prediction or at least some sort of informed note to pass along, I don't know. I'm keeping an eye on it. That is for sure. All right, let's dump out the card.
All right, we are going to go to Louisville. I am playing over 46 Clemson Louisville. I think that offense, if Dabo just doesn't try to kick ridiculously long field goals this week, and that was very windy last week, they probably should have scored 30 legitimately without a defensive score. They had 3 missed field goals. I am going to take under 56.5 in Kansas State, Kansas. I think there's a chance of wind in that game, but more importantly, I think Kansas kind of shot its shot against Oklahoma, breaking out that new offense, and Oklahoma State was like, oh, we saw that. Appreciate you guys trying that against them and not us. And since we're not missing 4 of our power defensive backs like Oklahoma was, we're not going to have any problems with that. And Kansas basically didn't do a damn thing. Kansas State's defense last week was sneaky good. I mean, they really made TCU look terrible. I know TCU had some problems of its own, obviously, and they fired their coach. Let's see what else here.
Oh, that was Chip Lindsey, not Chip Long, by the way. Chip Lindsey's the head coach at Troy. Chip Long's the Tulane offensive coordinator.
Yeah. By the way, on Tulane, well, I'll save that, but they do go for it a ton on 4th downs, which is a good thing to pay attention to. Like, they will go over more often than their numbers suggest because it creates higher scoring games for both teams. I'm also going to take Rice and Charlotte under 53.5. 2 bad defenses here, I know, but 2 offenses that I think are going to run the ball a little bit more than normal, given you have some QB injury stuff going on here. So, yeah, I like that.
I was close to taking Rice in the points this week.
Yeah.
Another situation where it's like, if the spread's the other way around between these 2 teams, I'm just betting the dog.
Does he get does he get fired there too, Bloomgren?
I don't know. I think it would help him to finish strong, but I don't know if there's any real heat on him right now. I mean, he took over a program that was in pretty bad shape.
Okay. I'm pretty tapped out for now.
Okay. And are you, Danny, you got any left?
No, I'm tapped out till Moneyline Sprinkles.
Okay. Tom too?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right, let's review. Tom, Tennessee +1, the under 37.5 in Army Air Force, the under 54 in Michigan State Purdue, the under 49.5 in Texas A&M Auburn, South Alabama +4, the under 58.5 in Baylor TCU, the under 41 in Colorado State Wyoming, ULM +3.5, and Tulane UCF under 59.5. Chip, also Tennessee +1, under 37.5, North Carolina -2.5, the under 49.5 in Texas A&M Auburn, NC State -2.5, Alabama -28.5, the under 41 in Colorado State Wyoming, Liberty +9.5, UTEP +11.5. Danny, Tennessee +1, Nebraska +15, North Carolina -2.5, Texas A&M Auburn under 49.5, West Virginia +3.5, Washington +7, Texas Iowa State over 60, Missouri Georgia under 60, Tulsa +23.5, Rutgers +13.5, and the over 47.5 in Notre Dame Navy. Bud, Tennessee +1, the over 37 in Army Air Force, the over 53 in Louisiana Georgia State, the over 47 in Virginia Tech Boston College, NC State -2.5, the under 58.5 in Baylor TCU, the under 61 in Texas Iowa State, the over 46 in Clemson Louisville, the under 56.5 in Kansas State Kansas, and the under 53.5 in Rice Charlotte. Lock Infinity on Tennessee +1. Lock Unity on the Texas A&M Auburn under. 2-on-1 bar fight for Army Air Force with Tom and Chip on the under, Bud on the over. Lock Fight on Texas Iowa State between Danny and Bud. Lock agreements include North Carolina -2.5, the under 58.5 in Baylor TCU, NC State -2.5, and the under 41 in Colorado State Wyoming. Taking us to our money line sprinkles, where, thank you, Coca. Tom is 13-15, up 7.74 units. Bud is 12-15, up 5.48 units. Chip is 10-15, down 0.64 units. Danny 9-20, minus 3.1 units. Looks like everyone got at least one win last week. Bud cashing 2 tickets with Fresno +100 as well as Old Dominion +170. So, Mr. Elliott, what do you have for week 10?
Well, Chip, I'm glad you asked here. Let's go ahead and bet on some high variance teams. The first one that I have for us this week is 2 teams that may have quit, but I'm just hoping to be on the right side of one. And I'm going to go ahead and take USC +271 at Arizona State. No Drake London. No run defense, but if you've been reading stuff about Arizona State, sounds like they got real problems there. I don't know how diamond hands the AD and the president are going to be now at Arizona State now that that team is kind of quitting down the stretch. And I know they had a lot of turnover problems last week, so I will start out with USC this week. Then I'm going to take a team that I have lost a lot of money on this year, which there's not a lot of them because I'm actually pretty lucky this year so far. I'm going to take Southern Miss, who should not be an underdog to North Texas. North Texas is also missing its best player. Give me Southern Miss +175 at home. I know they don't have a really much of an offense, but North Texas, I mean, that's like an obvious lame duck situation to me. I think Southern Miss will still play hard, you know. I have another one here. Go ahead and give me West Virginia. I can grab 150. I think it's the best number out there right now.
Yeah.
West Virginia +150. Tom seems to be very on top of that number, so I suspect he's doing the same thing I am in this game. And because this is another one that I already played, but I can't play again because the number is moved on the side. But I'll still take the money line here. Give me 155 on Wyoming hosting Colorado State. Colorado State is one of these teams that I'm just absolutely done with because Adazio is like maybe the worst game manager in the entire sport, and they consistently underperform their metrics. Like, he should be fired. It was a terrible hire at the time. Maybe having Urban Meyer run your coaching search is not the best move. I still don't fully understand why they did that, but they consistently underachieve relative to how well they move the ball and, you know, stop opponents from moving it because he makes really dumbass decisions on 4th down, and it's just a terrible game manager. So Wyoming for the upset at home. And I think I'm tapped there. That's 4, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Tom.
I am in agreement with Bud on West Virginia +150. I will not be with agreement on you with Southern Miss because I don't care what the numbers say. Southern Miss burns me repeatedly, so I have sworn off the Golden Eagles until next season. I've got 3. My second is Mississippi State. Getting the best I can get right now is 175 at Arkansas. I'm sorry, Arkansas. I really am turning my back on you, but just I don't.
They're last place.
That's way
Arkansas
too much.
is the last place team in the SEC West standings.
Yeah, that is way too much on Mississippi State right now. And then finally, there's 2 teams left in the country without a win, and I love to see teams get at least one win because, damn it, you worked that hard all year to at not least experience one weekend where a game finishes, you can feel good about yourself going into the next week is a shame. So I really want them to get the win, and I think this could be the most winnable game left on the schedule. Give me UNLV plus 115.
Wow, that one. I guess I can't have that strong of an
Rebs.
opinion about a damn money line, but all right.
Let's go, Rebs.
I am is it we don't necessarily, because it's a sprinkle, we don't necessarily like call it a lock agreement, lock unity, but yeah, give me West Virginia. Also give me Washington. The Pac-12 consistently does whatever's worse for the Pac-12, and after Oregon lands in the top 4, what would be more Pac-12 than to have Washington just go and win that game outright? Also, everybody's trying to move Sonny Dykes onto TCU. Memphis, money line. Let's go.
Don't hate it.
I could see that. I just want to see if Hennigan's going to play.
Sure.
There's 3 quarterback like 4 quarterback situations I'm watching this week. Memphis is one. ULM is one because they don't know if what's his name's going to play there. Middle Tennessee State is one, and then FSU. By the way, on FSU, I know we talked about this earlier in the show. They just canceled their inter-squad baseball scrimmage out of an abundance of caution. That was to be Friday, so it's definitely going through the whole athletic department.
Danny?
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
You can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hit 4 box on there? Can you just hit the 4 box so we can see all you guys? All right. Give me a second. Hold on. I'm getting ready for mine because I'm a little bit irritated with some of the stuff that's been going on the show today. All right, hold on.
I know what's
I don't like that Chip has the.
Oh,
come on. Come on. So this is, here we go. This is my official Letterman's jacket. And everybody's counting out the Knowles this weekend. Do we forget that it's 2021? I just had a little virus that came through. Might have been a flu bug. And guess what I did? I called up this company and they set up an IV. And I sat there for about an hour. And guess what? I felt great. I don't know what kind of juice was in there, what kind of vitamins were in there, but they have modern technology. It was only Wednesday when some of this news came out. It's Thursday now. They're going to be back. They're going to be ready to go. This team is playing with more confidence than I've seen from them. I think Mike Norvell, my vote for coach of the month of October. I think the Knowles get the win outright against the Wolfpack. Give it to me, baby.
Ain't no drug testing at NFLPA Alumni Association.
That's right. I'm going to go ahead and hop on the Knowles. I do think if you're going to play them, you play them to win anyway. This thing is so baggy. Holy cow, I didn't know it was this big. I haven't worn this sucker in a while. It might have some moths in it. All right, my other plays. I have been atrocious this year on my moneyline sprinkle, something I was fantastic on last year, so I need to get this sucker turned around. Give me the spoiler makers. Give me Purdue playing at home against Sparty to win outright. One thing of note, Michigan State's pass defense is horrendous. One of the worst in the country, 127th in the country, giving up 300 yards a game. Aiden O'Connell, who's he got to throw to? David Bell, one of the best receivers in the Big Ten. I think they'll be able to put up points. I am concerned about Kenneth Walker, who continues to run off everybody, but at some point, and they've had some success doing it before with Peyton Thorne, but I wonder where his confidence is right now, coming off a 2-interception performance against Michigan. The other one, I'll go ahead and take Auburn. We talked about this game earlier. I think it's going to be low scoring. Of the 2 quarterbacks, I am starting to look at Brian Harsin, the job he's done with Bo Nix, and starting to be more of a believer that maybe he is prepared to go into this hostile environment. He's completed 70% of his passes the last couple games. I think Texas A&M is going to try to get Spiller and A-Chain going. I wonder how that goes against Auburn's defensive front. And if they have some success, I don't think they're going to shut those dudes down. But I don't know if Zach Calzada, who's only completing 55% of his passes on the year, is going to replicate what he did against Alabama against this Auburn defense. So give me Auburn on these numbers. They got plus 140 for Purdue. Is that right?
I can get you. Oh, hold on. I got 132, but let me look further.
All right. Well, whatever I can get
No,
on that
there's
one.
a 140.
Okay. And I had plus 120 for my Noles.
117 is the best I can do.
Okay. I had plus 172 for the Tigers.
Yeah.
And then I had one more because I think we have to do a wouldn't it be funny if like it's got to be in there. And there's an LSU helmet. I'm not that stupid. I'm not going to go that much swinging for the fences. That truly is a prop that is just up there. But wouldn't it be funny if Hugh Freeze came back to Oxford and had the last word in all of what transpired there in Oxford, Mississippi? Malik Willis, we know what type of talented quarterback he is. And while he didn't have his best game against Syracuse and he had a couple other clunkers, he's been getting right last couple games, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. We know Ole Miss's defense isn't exactly world beaters. So wouldn't it be funny if Liberty goes into SEC territory and pulls off the win? Give me Liberty at plus 290.
I mean, that's
do you like 290 better than 310?
Oh, I like
310
310 the best. Let's go.
You know, that's as bold as Bob Comedice trying to escape from the hotel security out the window of a hotel room, you know?
Yep, it sure is.
Tom with West Virginia plus 150, Mississippi State plus 175, UNLV plus 115. Chip's got West Virginia plus 150, Washington plus 235, Memphis plus 165. Danny, Florida State plus 117, Purdue plus 140, Auburn plus 172, Liberty plus 310, and Bud, USC plus 271, Southern Miss plus 175, West Virginia plus 150, and Wyoming plus 155. Awesome show, gentlemen. Fine work to all of you. Thanks to all of you who hung out and watched us live. Thanks to those of you who are downloading, listening, or watching this later on youtube.com/cover3 or wherever you get your podcasts. We will be back on Saturday night for our instant reaction show. So make sure that you keep an eye out for that. You can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fernelli. You can follow him at Bud Elliott 3. You can follow him at Danny Cannell, and you can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.